Now, a few months ago, I challenged the entire world to face off in a Scavenger Hunt tournament in Project Zomboid. I set up a server with just the Erie County map installed, much to the chagrin of a few Louisville-loving clowns, and gathered up the 35 Spiffo stuffies scattered around the map, so that I could replace them in fresh new spots. I offered Steam games and trophies and glory as incentive, but the 70-ish people that showed up were in it for a new challenge. Finally, Project Zomboid had an endgame that wasn't just you dying, or finishing building a working computer powered by zombies or some such. And if you're interested in joining my next Project Zomboid event, I'll have more on that in a few minutes. But first, let's start the tournament and see what happens. The hype train was rolling on the Discord, so as soon as the server was open, people started popping in. We did have a few delays for a few people due to technical difficulties on their end, but once they had the right settings, we were rolling along with around 20 players hunting around the map, reading my cryptic clues, trying to find stuffed raccoons, killing the most zombies, leveling up, and scavenging for supplies. And right away, Noobsteel logs into the hospital, clears out a turret on the roof, and starts stabbing himself with shards of glass. Now, I do feel compelled to state that this is a horrible way to learn about the human anatomy, but in Project Zomboid it is an option. It's an option that takes a long time to do, so we'll check in on him later. Even though the server was set up to rare vehicles, the players were very quick to spawn in as burglars and find what cars there were available. And what was the top priority for the new contestants? Of course, hiding out in bathrooms. Lots of hiding out in bathrooms. The initial scatter of spawns was very finely placed, putting players all over the map. But apparently, a large clump of players heard that there were swamps and got very excited about that because our first big convocation of players happened at the northwest corner of the swamps. The first death of the tournament goes to our second place winner from the last tournament, the Fragfest-style City Clear tournament. The link's in the description. Vinny! And after that, the deluge of deaths began. We racked up 46 deaths on just the first day alone, so yes, normal kinds of Project Zomboid day in that regard. Some other normal Project Zomboid things happened quickly enough. Cupcake My Duct Tape greedily wanted a car, but accidentally set off the alarm and had to hide from the ensuing horde. And someone else got the same idea, but on purpose. Assuming that other players would stumble into the generated horde, Wasp set off the sirens of a ranger's car. Oh, and one fun thing about being the admin is that I can see exactly how far that siren's call drew the Zeds from. And it's huge, if you didn't know. Speaking of unexpected hordes, one of the little surprises I left around the map was strategically placed extra undead that would mind their own business until aggroed. And Wars and Rage had just run into a church full of no longer faithful. And while dealing with that unsettling congregation, Therapist Taco and Mr. Man ganked Rage's ride and just made off for it. They ran right into a building that had just been found by Vinny and freaked him out as he heard the sounds of an oncoming car. So he hightailed it out of there, even though PvP at this point was only by choice. Vinny was taking no chances. Meanwhile, back in the swamp, the circle of friendship had finally been broken. Cupcake My Duct Tape had gotten it into their blood to set off car alarms, and Noobsteel had gotten everything in the room into his blood with his exploratory surgery. Let's fast forward just a bit here to see what happens to the group of people in about 2 hours. And while watching that, don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you want, or comment or stuff. because it's YouTube and YouTube likes that sort of thing and pays me when people do it, and that lets me do even more fun events and give away even more Steam games. So, please, thank you. We did find a little spot where 2 heroes jumped into a holding tank for science and got stuck for real. They called out on the Discord that they were trapped, and I came in with my admin powers and let them out. Back into the swamp, a convoy was just pulling out of a town that they'd looted for cars. But this poor group of intrepid survivors was unable to get far before they were beset by the 4 times normal zombie populations. Here are some of their valiant recordings from the trenches.
They're gonna come from the woods too.
Don't come from the side.
Watch the side! Holy crap, watch the side!
Yeah.
There's so many coming from the side.
About to get surrounded by Ace.
Yep. Y'all gotta
Ace
back
behind
up.
you.
Y'all gotta back up.
Ace, back up, back up.
Okay.
Wifey, back up. We out here. Oh, 2. Alright, back it up, back it up. Some on the side here.
Some coming on the side by Nessa.
I got it, got it.
Trying to watch behind us so we don't get bombarded.
Yeah,
There's one
to
to your
come
right,
out the woods
dark,
beside
right.
us.
Oh,
God.
this is not a good situation to be in. We gotta go.
Okay.
There's a
Yeah,
lot
we gotta
coming.
run. We gotta run. Just run back toward
We
the
gotta
police
run.
station. Wall behind the wall.
Y'all good? We gotta back up. We gotta go. We gotta go. Oh my God, there's so many. There's a little alley. Run in the little
Okay.
alley.
I'm lagging.
There's a little
Oh,
teeny alley.
yeah.
This is a horrible place to be in.
Go past me, Ace,
I
if
don't
you
know.
can.
We're good over here. There's nothing this way yet.
This will be a good place to back up. I'll back up. Let me be in front of you.
I'm watching behind too. I'll let you know if we need to jump the fence if they start coming this other alleyway.
Yeah, just watch our back. There's a lot here. I'll try to do my best.
Backed into an untenable quarter, Dark Eye and Light Eye held their ground valiantly until the very last moment, only for Light Eyes to be put out after hopping the fence. Dark Eyes managed to escape alone. Meanwhile, the server began to be abuzz with players finding squares of spiffos and racking up points. And no, I didn't show anybody else where all of these were until the tournament was over. Discovered a cache of guns and ammo and food and began to rejoice and roll around it. Yeah! Get out! And Noobsteel had moved on from stabbing himself with glass to take the first of our trophies, the Rick Trophy, for leveling up a crafting skill to level 10 in under 3 hours. And they'd already begun to work on their next goal. No, not spiffo finding, as was the brief of the event, but rather kills. And speaking of death, Dark Eyes' escape led to a typical end for Project Zomboid. Only a few short hours into the game, and death would visit while searching a cemetery. The first safe house was claimed by Wasp and Vinny, and Tryhard Taco 64 joined the server, claimed a city, and started laying into it, clearing it out. Hold on. Flag on the play. Too many men on the field. Knowing that his old self had some really good loot, Dark Eyes returned to the cemetery and set off a distraction so that he could lead his old self away to be looted. Respectfully laid to rest. Eventually, the opening hours faded, and the players realized that if they were going to win this, they needed to settle in and not burn themselves out. This would be a long week, and not everything could be done on day one. But more spiffos were found. Tryhard Taco 64 gave me a great costume idea for filming, and players were... Noobsteel! I just said that not everything can be claimed on day one. But there he sits on day one, holding not only the Rick Trophy, but now the Rivers of Blood Trophy for killing 1,000 Zeds first without dying. And as he towers over the competition, will he be able to stay on top? Finally, after 24 hours of frantic, frenetic action, the server was finally able to rest, as the players realized that this is not just something that they can do an all-nighter for and claim victory. Because not only were there 35 spiffos to find re-hidden all over the entire map, but I also had a series of other trophies I was handing out for the first player to get to level 10 in a combat skill, the first level 10 in a crafting skill, the first player to fully level a gun skill, the first player to max out a survival skill, the player to get 5,000 kills before dying, and the first player to gather a mound of scrap and batteries. I'd also hidden a piece of paper next to each spiffo with a very cryptic message leading to a grand prize. The BackLog's Backlog, a collection of 25 Steam games for the first player to find it. But most of these would take a lot of time to do. So that morning I found 2 players hip-deep in blood, trying to clear out the northeastern town. And a southeast field for some reason. And during the night, players had been sending me in pictures of themselves and their pile of stuffies. A large group of survivors formed late that day and apparently thought I just used the normal spiffo placements for this map instead of placing them in my own places for this tournament. They made their way into the underground catacombs maze in search of Batman, but alas, their sneaky server admin had moved them. And after a long time of searching, they took to the north to clear out an entire town, apparently. Because as they were getting close to the northmost spiff, the helicopter event spotted them and flooded their location with everybody in 4 cells. Day 3 dawned, and by now most of the casual players that thought this would be a walk in the park had realized, and many had given up, though some had formed into bands roaming around together for safety and companionship. One such horde of survivors, Team Outbreak, managed to arm themselves and clear out the northeast gas station to claim their prize. I spooked one of them as I turned off ghost mode to join in their picture as proof that they'd claimed the spiffo. Now, not everyone felt that they needed help in this challenge, as Noobsteel was once again off on their own, laying down the law, though the wounds present stood testament to the ever-present call of companionship upon the very heart and soul of mankind itself. They shone as a beacon to light the way to a new hope of... Can we just pause for a moment to talk about how tempting it is as the server admin to mess with people? I mean, I could have turned this scratch into a bite and he would have just never known. But anyway, what were we talking about? Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, for though I teleported away for a mere few seconds to check on Swervin' Mervin, I had left his health window open, and then this happened. F in chat, everyone. F in chat. Not everyone was so brash as to eschew the company of friends, however, and it was soon time again for a group picture in the southern junkyard. Also, we apparently had a young couple join us and play the game together. At least I was told in our Discord server invite in the description below, that she was teaching her boo how to play, which I think is kinda sweet. They didn't win the game, spoilers, but did manage to not die very much. Unlike Disloyal and Himudo, who did claim the spiffos at the end of the runway and near the helicopter into the central military airport, and did manage to die plenty. Day 4 was mostly routine, with a lot of hunting about and dying and welding and killing, but one bright spot of eventfulness took place in the swamps. I'd hidden a few of the spiffos on islands around. Some were able to be claimed from the mainland itself, but some needed a bridge to be built, and that's exactly what Swervin' Mervin did. though it apparently cost him a fine hand axe to build it. So maybe that's why he chose to leave it built and help any of the other players who wanted to claim it. Day 5. The players started going a bit loopy on day 5. What can I say? It had been a long week already, and so things started going off the rails. Team Outbreak had found a handy shack in Quad C and holed up for a while to, let me check my notes here, walk into corners, reload continuously, and sort their thousands of water bottles. You do you, I suppose. Mido, as usual, was doing absolutely nothing while I was recording, and Noobsteel was again covered in wounds. Then later in the day, Hermido had found a far more active version of doing nothing, for he had fixated on recovering a truck that was trapped in the swamp, and he needed to build a wide series of bridges, cut down a ton of trees, and slowly inch his way out. And after a few hours of cutting and building and getting stuck in the mud, he was finally able to extricate the truck from the mud and then do nothing while I watched. And though I did hide at least one spiffo in a downed helicopter and another in a dump, Team Outbreak managed to find the wrong one of each and waste plenty of time while doing it. Noobsteel, by this time, had fully embraced the roguelike nature of the week and had filled his storehouse with loot and survivors' journals, so that when he inevitably died, he'd be able to spawn back in and only lose a bit of ground. And one of the joys of setting the server up is I can fill small buildings with very large amounts of Zeds and just wait to see when they get opened. And if I had happened to have more patience, I would have seen Swervin' Mervin crack open this storage container and flee in horror as at least 100 Zeds came pouring out. For the last 2 days, I turned off zombie respawns completely to allow some of the stragglers to search more freely. And though there was plenty of evidence that Humido had been doing quite a lot, by the time I got on, he was back to doing nothing much of anything. Someone that had been busy was Swervin' Mervin though, and on day 6, they managed to kill their 5,000th Zed without dying and earned the trophy of Mound Maker. But the Scavenger Hunt had not been won yet, and the large team of survivors faced the snowy chill of January in-game to claim more spiffos. And I claimed one of their rides for myself, as a ghost. So they suddenly saw one of their fans just speeding off. I did give it back, eventually. And as the last few hours of the tournament rolled past, the players scurried across the map, searching diligently for those few remaining spiffos that they needed to claim victory. And as a side note for future server admins, setting the Zed spawn rate to multiples higher than normal can really lead to areas of the map just being flooded with zombies. And once cleared, they won't be readily accessible for a while because of corpse sickness. At least, that's what the players kept complaining about in the Discord. But as the tournament came to a close and the victors were crowned and games and trophies handed out, Swervin' Mervin took a certain victory, only missing 1 of the 35 spiffos. Team Outbreak found 28, and Wasp took home bronze with 11. Our honorable mentions were Noobsteel with 9, Middle 15 rocking 7, Mr. Manjo, Therapist Taco, and Vinny with 3 each. Nobody found my backlog horde of Steam games, though apparently some figured out the clue, but didn't have the carpentry to be able to reach it. It was a good, hard-fought week, and I'm excited to do another one with you all on the 17th of February. And until next time, I'll play with you again later.